Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Hi, how are you? Today I'm going to be sharing all of the books that I read from January to March. Now it's not that many, it's only 7. I've had a really slow reading year, but my goal is only 60, so I think that if I just read more, I can reach that goal. Obviously that makes the most sense. And I read a lot of these books on Kindle, so I don't have a ton of them. And then the other half of the books that I do own, I didn't want to rip apart my entire bookshelf that I just reorganized, so I'm gonna put the pictures up. And I hope that's okay. Let's just get right into it. So the first book that I read this year was Off to the Races by Elsie Silver, and I did read that on my Kindle, and I gave it 2.5 stars. I gave it 2.5 stars. I didn't really like it. I was trying to get into Elsie Silver because I know people really love her, and I was trying to read her backlog and not just start with her newest books because all the characters intertwine and everything. And I wanted to kind of get a background on these characters that I would be hearing about. So I started with the first book that she wrote, which was Off to the Races, and this is the first book in the Gold Rush Ranch series. It's a enemies to lovers, a romance, a cowboy romance, and I really didn't like it. It's very much horse girl vibes, and I'm not a horse girl, but nothing against horse girls. I don't have anything against them. I just kind of the book was very horse heavy, and I don't know anything about horses, so I feel that was also kind of where my issue came from. I just don't know anything about horses. My calendar is wrong. It's supposed to be on April and it's actually on February, but just ignore that. Anyway, I didn't like this because I think that the female main character, I saw a Goodreads review of this, and it said that the female main character had more chemistry with her horse than she did with the love interest, and I just kind of found that to be really true because I feel she did not have a lot of chemistry with her love interest. It was very much rushed, and it didn't feel like they were falling in love. It kind of just felt like they were hooking up, if that makes sense. And I also hate an enemies to lovers where they meet in the book, because that to me is not true, deeply rooted enemies to lovers. That is I just met you and I'm not really a fan of you, so now we're enemies. That doesn't make sense. So I wasn't a huge fan of it. I would say that it's good for just kind of a filler book. It didn't put me into a book slump. It wasn't hard to read. It was an interesting book, to say the least. I thought that the story with the horse was good, and that's why I didn't DNF it, because I was I need to figure out what's going on with this horse, because the horse is scared to compete, basically. I just was reading it mostly for the horse, to be honest. The next book that I read was Tell Her Story by Margot Hunt, and I didn't actually read this book. I listened to the audiobook of this. It was really short, and me and my sister were looking for a short audiobook to listen to while we were bedazzling our books, and we picked this one. It's a small town thriller mystery, and a journalist who lived in the city comes to live with her sister in this town, and she's looking into the case of a missing teacher, and the more that she looks into it, the more it gets kind of weird, and she's what's going on? This stuff doesn't add up. And just who was the killer was very much I could have guessed that from the very beginning, first, and second, I think that it just wasn't. Oh, I did give this 2 stars, by the way. It wasn't the ending was just not good, and I don't want to tell you, but basically the ending of it was I thought that something was gonna happen, and I was so sure of it, and it did happen, but then the reaction of the other characters was not what I was expecting at all, and something that I feel is not normal, a normal reaction to when you find out the information these characters found out. I just thought it was very out of left field for this character to react that way. It was just very odd. And I know the book was short, so it wasn't really I knew these characters very well, but I felt that was very out of character. But yeah, so it was just not very good. And the only reason I rated it 2 stars was because the actual mystery was engaging and it was interesting, and I enjoyed following along with all of the things that the main character was trying to figure out, but the ending was just not good at all, and it kind of ruined the entire book for me. The next book that I read was Flawless by Elsie Silver. Like I said, I was trying to read all of her books, and the next one was to read Flawless, and this is the first book in the Chestnut Springs series. This is also set in the same world as Off to the Races, the Gold Rush Ranch series. I give this one 3.5 stars. I liked it a lot more than I liked Off to the Races. I thought that the romance was better. I thought that just the story was better. It's a small town, enemies to lovers, cowboy romance. It's kind of a sports romance because the main character, the male main character, is a bull rider, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And basically it's like City Girl goes to be this man's babysitter and ends up like falling in love with him. And I thought that it was really good. The whole like family dynamic of like the male main character's family was just really good. Like I just thought there was a lot going on with them, and I thought that it was really interesting, and I'm really excited to read like the rest of the books because I think like I want to see all of the other characters. I think it'll be the other, like the brothers, but I'm not entirely sure. But I'm hoping that it will be, and if it's not, I'm obviously going to be disappointed because I want to see more of like this family dynamic and the rest of the family finding love interest, because I think that would be just fun for them. So I did like this one a lot more. I thought that just like the whole vibe of it was better. I thought that like genuinely like the enemies to lovers was like deeper rooted because the female main character's dad was originally the one working for the male main character, and then the dad like hired our female main character. I can't remember the names of these people's in these books. That's why I'm saying like male main character and female main character. I'm terrible with names, okay? The only names that I remember is the book that I just finished reading. That's the last book on this list, and I will refer to them by name, but for now I just apologize, I can't remember. And it doesn't necessarily mean that these books are memorable, but maybe they aren't. I don't know. Also, all these like cowboy romances really blend together. Like they really blend together. Anyway, I just liked the family dynamic a lot in there, and like I said, the enemies to lovers was like actual true enemies to lovers, so I feel like it was a lot better and it was done better than Off to the Races was. And I also think the writing, like Elsie Silver's writing, got really good. That's why I'm excited to read her like newest series, and I can't remember what it's called, but I'm really excited to read like her newer books, her newest series, because I know that the writing is just gonna get 10 times better, because I did see that switch from Off to the Races and Flawless. Like there was a huge shift in like the descriptions and like just the love in general, like was just better, and it was more well written, and I did enjoy it, but it was a 3.5 for me. And then I read Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I gave this one 3 stars, and I feel like I should have given it higher, but I don't know. This is the first book in the Letters of Enchantment duology, and this is the love story between two rival like co-workers turned into war correspondents. Basically their entire thing is just that they have magic typewriters that can link up to each other, so everything that they write, the other one receives. And I also just think that's like really interesting because it was an interesting story. I'd never really seen anything like that, and like the way that they were talking to each other was like very interesting, and the dynamic between them on the typewriters versus them in person, because our female main character didn't actually know that the other side of the typewriter was her work rival, and he knew that it was her. It was just like she didn't know. And there's like this war going on, and then they both become war correspondents, and then they fall in love. And it's just really cute and sweet. It is a romantasy. There is obviously some magical elements to it, and it's YA, which I don't actually know how YA it is, because they were getting a little raunch. I thought it was good. I thought it was sweet. I listened to most of it, and then I read a little bit of it on Kindle, because it is on Kindle Unlimited, and I thought that it was good. I enjoyed it. I will not be reading the second one because I've heard that it's not very good, so I probably won't bother reading it. But I'm just gonna imagine that they're living happily ever after together, because what else would I do? Next, I read another cowboy romance, Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. This is the second book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. Small town cowboy romance. You know the drill. Basically, it was like city girl interior designer that falls in love with a ranch boy, and it's the brother of the girl from the first book. And basically he's building like a bed and breakfast on their like ranch, and they hire an interior designer to come in and design the interior of the place. And basically they like meet at the bar, and they end up like kissing at the bar or something, and then she shows up and she's their interior designer like working for them, and they basically fall in love. I gave this a 2.75, which is very specific because it wasn't average. It was a little bit above average, but I wasn't a huge fan of this book just because I wasn't a huge fan of the romance. I thought it was very rushed. I mean, he had met her like at the bar, and then immediately he was like, I'm so in love, I can't live without her. And I was like, well, that's a little bit crazy. I also just thought that, like, the book was very short, and so, like, in that time frame of, like, the book being really short, the romance was rushed, and I wanted more into, like, some of the other, like, sometimes when there's interconnected standalones, you get a lot from, like, the first book, like, the couple. You still, like, talk to them, and they're still, like, very present in the story. There was, like, maybe, like, 10 pages with them, and, like, I don't know. I guess that doesn't make the book bad. I just, like, wasn't a huge fan of, like, them, and I feel like they didn't really work together very well. I feel like it was very rushed, obviously, because the book was short, and I just wasn't a huge fan. But the story was, like, cute. But there was also so much stuff about, like, the female main character's, like, ex, and how she was, like, had commitment issues, and then all of a sudden she didn't have commitment. I don't know. I just wasn't a huge fan of it. So then I read Deep End by Ali Hazelwood, and I gave this a 4.75. This was almost a 5-star read for me. I just wasn't a huge fan of, like, the content, which sounds crazy, but I also think it was a lot more tame than it was marketed to be. Like, I wonder if she cut some of it out of it, because there weren't as many, like, scenes in there as I thought were gonna be. There was more just, like, talk about their, like, intimate relationship and stuff. I liked it. It's a sports romance, a college sports romance. Our female main character is a diver, and our male main character is a swimmer from Sweden, I think. Basically, what happens in it is our diver has, like, a mental block because she hurt herself and she can't do this one dive, and our swimmer is a really good swimmer, and he's dating this girl Penn, which I don't know why I remember her name and not the other ones, but they're together, and then Penn's, like, not really in love with him. They're, like, not really working, and Penn suggests that this male main character and female main character, they get together, and because their interests align, and they talk about it a lot, and I just really liked their relationship. I thought that it was very sweet because Penn talks to our female main character a lot about her relationship with the male main character, and, like, her relationship, how, like, he was with her and stuff, and he's Scarlett is her name. Very different with Scarlett, and not the same as, like, how he was with Scarlett and Lucas, yeah. So Penn and Lucas were dating, and then Penn suggests that Scarlett and Lucas try, and then she kind of, like, does this 180 and turns it into, like, the fact that it wasn't her idea, and I didn't like that. She kind of blew up on everyone about it, and I kind of knew that was gonna happen. It just really wasn't, like, that big of a deal. I felt like that was always, like, her character arc, and I feel like, I don't know, just, like, the romance was good. Seeing Scarlett kind of work through all of her issues, go to therapy and stuff, it was very interesting to hear about, like, an athlete's point of view of, like, when they're really struggling with something, like, how that can really affect them, like, in all aspects of their life. And there was a cameo from characters it was Adam and Olive, so whatever book that was from, cameo, and it was great. I loved it. And then the last book that I have to talk about is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, I think is how you say that. I really hope I didn't butcher that. And I get that a 4.25. So I've been really on, like, a good book kick recently. The first couple books I read were not very good, but these last two that I read were pretty good. This book is the first book, and I think the series is just called Ember in the Ashes. And this is a YA romantasy. Basically, the whole plot of it is it's dual point of view, and, like, basically you get the point of view of our male main character Elias, who is a soldier for this empire that's kind of conquering all these lands and enslaving the scribes, which is where you meet Laya, who is a slave for the commandant, who is, like, the most important woman in this kind of, like, soldier college, military college, that's the word I'm looking for, thank you. The romance, I think, is supposed to be between Elias and Laya, but there's some other characters, like with Laya, there's another character with, like, the resistance, and then with Elias there's another character in his, like, military college, and there's just a lot going on. Basically, like, there's these trials, they're looking for a new empire, and also Laya is spying for the resistance to try and save her brother who gets kidnapped by the empire, and they cross paths a lot, and I think that they're, like, kind of falling in love, but I think it's definitely going to be slow burn, but I'm really excited about it. And there was a plot twist at the end, and I liked it, and I was a big fan, and I'm really excited to read the second one. Okay, so that is all I have to talk about today. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about all the books that I read from January to March, And I don't know if I'm gonna do monthly wrap-ups. I wanted to, but obviously I didn't read enough the past 3 months to do monthly wrap-ups, but I definitely want to like get back into doing them. Please comment if you guys think that you would like to see wrap-ups from me every month, or if this kind of style is better. I don't know. I might also throw the books that I read into like my TBR videos if you'd like to see that. Maybe that would be like a good way to do it. Just say like, oh, here's my TBR, or here's all the books I read last month, and then here's my TBR for this month. I'm not sure. Whatever I think is best for you guys, you should let me know. Whatever you think would be more interesting to watch if I like talked too much in this video, you know, just let me know. And please, please, please give me book recommendations. I always say that. And don't forget to subscribe so that you can see my April TBR and the TBRs that I picked for the rest of this year and next and forever how long I'm doing this. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss all the books that I read this year and next, whatever. But anyway, with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next one. Bye! Mwah!